Heyo everybody, Haku here with the first part of Snow White Raising Project. Yeah, we're finally moving on to this. And yeah, this week we'll be doing the first, hat. I haven't worn a hat in a video before, but yeah. I'm going to be, just because I don't want my hair falling in my face since I just got out of the shower. And yeah, so for this one we're reading the first 30 pages, or the first 30 pages. Also, it's kind of dark where it's raining, so sorry if the video's a little laggy because of the bad lighting. I don't know why it does that. But yeah, I keep getting distracted. There's a page break on page 30. I didn't read anything, I just went and checked to see where the page, see if there was a page break around that area, since this is 59 pages long. So I'll read up until the page 30 page break here, and then for next week's video I will read the last 29 pages. And in addition to reading those last 29 pages, I will also that week put out my video reacting to and discussing the character designs for the second arc. And when I do that, I'll probably put the image up there, like on the screen with me, so you will be able to refer to what I'm talking about as I'm actually looking at it. Not sure how I'll do it. There's a couple different ways I could do it, but I'll just see what looks the best. Then I'll just have that up next week, as well as the end of Snow White Raising Project. Week after that, we move into Arc 2. So, yeah, let's go ahead without rambling on a bit too much and start reading Snow White Raising Project. I'm so happy to get into characters that I don't know yet, or at least one character, because I see it right here on the first page. There's Snow White Ripple, who's, I don't know if her eye is injured or missing, because they made it seem like it was injured, but I always thought it was missing. Either way, though, maybe it is just injured. I don't know if you can see out of it or what the deal is. And then we have a new character in the middle whose design looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know, all it is like a face shot, so I don't really know, except for pretty cool. This story is set a few weeks after Magical Girl Raising Project. Okay. Now, let me check everything, and everything looks good, so let's get started. The magical girl known as Snow White. By her own actions, she went into isolation. A survivor of the forced musician Clamberry's final examination, Clamberry's test methods were cruel, charged with the crime of holding a death game, yet she was also a victim of that incident. It's been a while since that incident was first discovered. The person who successfully uncovered it was regarded as a hero. There was also sympathy for her, as she was also a victim of the incident. However, her attitude has been stubborn. She rejected all the sympathy, worship, and care offered to her. Eventually, people who wanted to help her stopped caring entirely about her. Even though she didn't want people to feel concerned towards her, the Land of Magic couldn't help it. It was necessary for them to bring treatment towards Snow White. After all, they had to show sincerity to the victims of that incident. Other magical girls would feel dissatisfied, uneasy, and would spread negative opinions otherwise. At least, that's what I think. The Land of Magic often does things like that anyway. When the Land of Magic granted Snow White honorary status as a Land of Magic citizen, my thoughts were confirmed. I like how this is written, just taking a sidebar here, I like how this is written in first person right now. Does she want to continue being a magical girl, or would she rather have her memories erased and return to a normal life, choosing to return to the world as another normal member of society? It turns out, when asked, Snow White had answered that she would prefer to continue being a magical girl. The Land of Magic probably would have preferred if she returned to being a human. Okay, hold on. It seems really laggy looking, just the video preview. Oh well. Preferred if she returned to being a human. After all, she still had a future ahead of her. Judging from her personality and how she behaved during the test, surely she would have chosen to leave and return to normal. And yet, she chose to continue to become a magical girl instead. I heard the news, and that day I rushed to become Snow White's new mentor. Snow White was a magical girl who had yet to receive proper training from an official test. If she is to become an honorary member of the Land of Magic, then someone has to educate her in how to become a proper magical girl. I am not a graduate of Clamberry's tests. I was selected and passed a proper magical girl selection test. My place of residence is relatively close to Snow White's district. In a way, I am a veteran who isn't doing much as of now. My memories of the Land of Magic's policies and training methods are still well ingrained as well. Thus, I satisfy the conditions of becoming her mentor. Thus, in the candidacy of becoming her mentor, I feel I am capable of becoming chosen. It turns out I was chosen. However, it's because I was the only one running for that position. In a way, I felt a bit honored. No one else cared for this girl but me. I was interested in Snow White. She should have been disillusioned with magical girls, and she should have desperately wanted to be free from that life, and yet she chose to continue of her own free will. Even though I knew the details of Clamberry's final test, why is it that it seems like this girl is a mystery? If she was like this, then was the other survivor, Ripple, the same? An outcast and a fighter, and yet she also chose to continue becoming a magical girl with high spirits. Fact, Ripple didn't quit becoming a magical girl, yet Snow White's decision was incompatible with her personality. Why? I can't stop thinking of that. That's why I wanted this position. After I was chosen, I immediately contacted Snow White. I greeted her, told her my name, and explained that I had become her mentor. It's difficult to meet together currently. However, I'm just a short phone call away. If there's anything that's troubling you, please talk to me about it, I said from the bottom of my heart. I heard a casual reply from Snow White. I'm not looking to get close with you. When she said that, it hurt my heart a little. But, since I wanted to get to know her better, I still tried my best. Anything is all right. I was just offering my assistance if you needed help, no matter how small. I know when I was troubled, I used to consult my mentors for help. I see. Please, don't hesitate to consult with me, not just for magical girl things, family problems, school perhaps. Is everything going well with those? And her reaction was not what I expected. Miss Frederica, there's one thing I want to ask. How do I become stronger? She went straight to the point. Her words could be interpreted in so many ways. I tilted my head and tapped on my feet. As I had expected, she was an interesting girl. What do you mean by that? Strength of the mind? No, stronger is in combat strength. I don't think magical girls need that kind of strength. They need kindness, beauty, compassion, friendship, those kinds of things. I don't think any other things should be necessary. Well, I don't think any of those things you told me are necessary for me right now. After that, she didn't ask any other questions, and then, I have to go. Goodbye. She hung up the phone. Of course, just because I came from outside of Clamberry's tests and offered a balm to her doesn't mean the living hell she went through would suddenly become a utopia. Despite her rather rude actions before, I still tried to reach out. I sent her a text, hoping to reach the next step with her. Why do you wish to become stronger? I need to become strong for what I'm about to do. And just what are you going to do exactly? Her reply was slow. It seems like she wasn't willing to reveal it to her own mentor, so I decided to take the next step for her. You're a Clamberry test participant. Because of that, you have a lot of eyes focused on you, so you'd do well to lay low. It's dangerous to step out of bounds. If you start becoming violent, even if what you're doing is the right thing, everyone will just say, of course she'd do that. She's a Clamberry test survivor. After I typed it all out, I erased everything and tried again. You're a Clamberry test participant. Nobody will see you as anything more. If I taught you how to fight, then you'll be the same as Clamberry. You'll be judged as someone who enjoys fighting and finding stronger opponents. If that happens, the Land of Magic will take appropriate action. That looked perfect. I sent the text to her. Taking a sidebar to discuss that. I have a feeling Snow White's not going to be too happy about that, given that Clamberry's the one that killed her best friend. But, you know... Sip of water for comedic effect, and mostly to get water. Okay, that looked perfect. I sent the text to her. After I hit send, I had this sick feeling in my stomach. I headed up and picked up my binder. How you feel when you send a drama message. Picked up my binder. I sat on my kitchen chair and turned the pages slowly. In my binder were the pictures of magical girls that I've seen throughout my years, and in those pictures, an angelic gloss, a supple, vibrant feeling, a braided hairstyle. Just looking at a magical girl's hair was enough to ease my stress. For a while my heart calmed down. Then my magical phone rang, and I threw my binder towards the table. just very very interesting character, this Miss Frederica, that we're seeing her own words here, her own thoughts. Like, I don't know, how old is she? It seems like the way she talks, she has to be, sorry, hiccup, she has to be pretty old. And what are those actions? Do they work? Did they manage to catch everyone who broke the law? I read those sentences twice, then I typed in a reply. Some skilled people have often managed to escape. No, that's bad, let's start over. There were rumors that some skilled people have managed to escape, however, I think those are just rumors. This is good. Is there any truth to them? Since Snow White brought up these kinds of topics, I think I know what she was planning to do. People who passed Clanberry's test were usually known by the name of Children of Clanberry, whether they are now good people or bad people. So, how'd they pass her test without being murdered by her? Either way, I'm sure will be explained at some point. But Children of Clanberry seems like they are going to possibly be an antagonist group. If they are a group, in fact. I could smell her interest in them. There was no mistaking it. There's no basis for it, though I personally trust what my colleagues say. After sending her that message, I turned off my magical phone. I picked up a magazine. The Forest Musician Clanberry. It said that she always stayed in her magical girl form. I couldn't do that. I had to pay rent. I had to pay my taxes too. Even though I don't exactly have a job, I still kept my human life together. As a magical girl, sensing the world through human eyes can feel refreshing, or at least I thought so. Although there's no grounds for that. I had that philosophy. So, if she has to pay rent and taxes even though she doesn't really have a job, there are very few things that makes me think. First thing I think is the land of magic giving her money, and second thing I think is when somebody says, "Gots to pay my rent" without having a job, it makes me think of illegal things. So yeah, odd Frederica, odd. As I became Snow White's mentor, I was able to investigate more details about her. Her real name was Koyuki Himakawa. Her magical skill was to hear the thoughts of people in distress. The details of the examination test that she won in N-City were written out in great detail. They had used a free-to-play social game, Magical Girl Raising Project, to lure potential candidates. From there, they picked the ones with magical potential and made them into magical girls. They used a mascot character who was based in the test administrator's magical phone in order to access the vast network of magical girls that they've chosen. A cyber fairy who was an expert on technology, Fav, was used. Only with his expertise were they able to do this sort of selection method. For something like this, the conventional animal-type mascots who couldn't handle a magical phone with their limbs wouldn't be able to accomplish it. But after Clanberry's incident was discovered, there's been a stigma against cyber fairy mascots. Most people tend to use animal types instead nowadays. Some would call it a revival of sorts. Magical Girl Raising Project managed to find a total of 15 Magical Girl candidates. If we included Clanberry herself, that rounds up the test with 16 participants. The rules to decide who gets eliminated from the test was a point system using something called magical candies. After a while, it seemed that their candy competition turned into a death match. As time went on, there was betrayal, death, and murder. Due to some accident of some kind, even the Forest Musician Clanberry, the administrator herself, was killed as well. Since she had died, the test was suspended. The announcement of the game's end was brought by Fav himself. Unfortunately, another accident broke out. A magical girl named Topspeed was killed in the event, and her close friend Ripple couldn't seem to contain her anger. In her revenge, she called out the killer Swim Swim into a duel. She managed to kill her, though at great injury cost to herself. Although it was quite a bloody affair, for Snow White herself, she came out only as a victim. Attacked by Ruler's group, attacked by Magicaloid 44, the endless cycle of people targeting her and others rescuing her continued. That's why, considering all this, the Snow White that I talked to on the phone wasn't the same Snow White that I'm reading about in that test. She was helpless back then. Is that why she's seeking strength? Does she want to stop being helpless? The sense of distress, survivor's guilt, the feeling to make right what was wrong, it's impossible to know for sure unless I ask her myself. Not just by talking, I needed to observe her as well. Because I knew that Snow White's human identity, Kuyuki Himekawa, because I knew Snow White's human identity, Kuyuki Himekawa, I was able to learn her address. I examined the times where she would go to school, and while she was away, I raided the Himekawa residence. Okay, Frederica. This was very unusual for me. This is not the most orthodox way to get someone's hair. On the first floor, Kiyuki's mother was busy vacuum cleaning, loudly enough that it may well serve as background music. My focus was on Kiyuki's room. I managed to pick up her fallen hair on the carpet. Most of the time, hair would be hidden in your bedroom. It's the most common place where you drop hair. The cuticle, it smells so good. I wanted to place her hair into my mouth, but I couldn't. I slipped her hair into a thin piece of paper. I love how this starts like really caring and normal and devolves more quickly and more quickly into creepy, I wanted to put her hair in my mouth, it smelled so good territory. Okay. Okay, Frederica, you have caught my interest. Okay. When I transform into a magical girl, aside from the fantastical costume, I also possessed a crystal ball as large as a child's head. When hair is wrapped to one of my fingers, then that hair's owner is displayed within the crystal ball. One hair for each finger makes a total of 10 possible targets at a time. Unfortunately, I can't broadcast them simultaneously, but I can switch channels. The only disadvantage to this is if I have to deal with bald people, or people with hair so short that I couldn't wrap my fingers around them. It's fine though, every power has a weakness. When I activated my magic, a girl appeared within a reachable distance. Indeed, I could do that. It's possible for me to interact by reaching my hand through the crystal ball. It's possible for me to reach in, grab her, and pull her over to my side. That was the original purpose of my magical skill. But I won't do that, not now. It's not the time. I suppressed the desire to reach out to that platinum blonde hair blowing within the wind. Now I'm only an observer. My magic has a very fuzzy system of recognition. I had Kuyuki Himekawa's hair, yet with it I can also observe her even when she's transformed into Snow White. Whenever I had free time during the day, I would spend it by observing Snow White closely. The girl was a middle school student like any other. She took her classes seriously and she had friends as well. She was in 2nd grade middle school. She had a student back, high socks, a scarf, a pleated skirt. Perhaps it's due to my age, but seeing a girl dressed like that gave me a sense of nostalgia. Even as a magical girl, she was dressed in school clothing as well, though her white magical girl uniform was decorated with large flowers. Although she had a flower motif, Clanberry's flowers were different from hers. Her activities seemed to be those that the Land of Magic would recommend to her. She was busy almost all the time, searching for people in distress. One time she watched over her classmates as they left school. Another time she carried drunkards home. She must be acting on her magic of hearing people in distress. Originally I thought that her magic only applied to opponents in front of her, but that's wrong. It seems to be a passive magic that acted more like a radar, with a range far beyond what I could imagine. She picked up the voice of someone in distress and would accurately pinpoint their location and help appropriately. Though she was a magical girl who had just debuted, no other could match her when it came to similar power sets. Most mind-reading based skills have some kind of limitation. Although it seems hers was passive, it could be focused if she tried. So yeah, Snow White has a pretty good ability. I mean, not the best in combat, but pretty good in general. It's good for being a magical girl. I know of another mind-reading magical girl. She had the ability of shortening the process of information gathering. Her mind was shattered when she tried to process a large amount of information at once. Shorten the process of information gathering. Huh. Interesting. Had to reread that to understand it. It doesn't seem like Snow White would have any situations like that with her powers. As Snow White was doing her job, she often met up with another magical girl in End City. She met at a children's park, usually near dawn. A black ninja costume, long black hair. Though her most interesting features are her left eye and left arm. Where her left eye would be was a deeply gouged scar, as if it were the marks of a blade wound. Her left eye seems to be destroyed. Okay, so it is gone. From the elbow of her left arm, her sleeves fluttered in the wind. You could see that there was nothing inside. I had a file on her as well. Her name was Ripple. She performed actions beyond the realms of the death match. She had killed another magical girl out of revenge. As a magical girl with one arm and one eye, she didn't have the most welcoming looks. From the information I'd get, I think it makes her look cooler, honestly. I think Ripple's a hell of a lot cooler with a missing eye and arm. From the information I'd gathered, I imagined she was more of a fighter type, or an aggressive, strong, and silent type of girl. Yet the ninja magical girl in the crystal ball, she laughed joyfully and cheerfully. As I thought, her smile had the expression of a retired veteran, though it was clearly by her own will, despite the circumstances that happened to her. When Ripple had been offered by the Land of Magic to have her injuries treated, she clearly said to them, "I don't want any of them treated." Although she considered the people she killed her foes, and although one of them had killed her closest friends, she had decided to do this to herself. "I killed someone I didn't have to kill," was her excuse. She did this so that she could never forget Clanberry's test, but she also did this to warn other magical girls of herself. When they see Ripple, they may consider her a threat or a danger to themselves. Perhaps this was how Ripple wanted to show her regret to the world, by showing them a part of herself she didn't like. But were there other reasons? I couldn't know this unless I asked Ripple myself, but would she even tell me if I asked? The white and black magical girls, both of them sat side by side on the stairs of the park. The two of them were talking with each other. When Ripple looked at Snow White, her eyes were like a teacher seeing her student, or a parent seeing her child, or an older sibling to a younger one. As I thought, Ripple's stance was that of a retired veteran. She's already settled into this lifestyle, though I hardly know the details of that. But Snow White was different. She tried to say something to Ripple, but she couldn't seem to find the right words. Her mind seemed to be muddled with thoughts. I feel like I'm watching a child taking her first steps into adulthood when I saw her innocent, yet confused. But Snow White's issues were not innocent at all. She wanted to become stronger and was seeing someone that could lead her to that strength. Because she was a child of Clanberry, there was no way the Land of Magic would risk sending a mentor that would teach her combat. If they did, she'd end up just like her. I see. Ripple. It was hard to depend on her. I could see by her state she was already planning to go off stage. She was already satisfied with her life and had done what she wanted to do. However, Ripple couldn't help but feel responsible for her. That's what's going on. Yet, Snow White wasn't arrogant. Despite what she wanted to do, she wasn't willing to trample her friends and family for it. If she did, she would become just like Clanberry. And Snow White didn't want to become like Clanberry. Ripple and Snow White parted ways. Snow White waved her hands, and Ripple slowly began to slip out of view. I turned off my crystal ball, and I detransformed. I found my coffee grinder and made some coffee. As the kettle rang, I thought of Snow White. With a little help, she just might be the one. She just might become the magical girl I'm looking for. I believe so. So, we are... Hold on. I'll be back in just a second. Sorry, I heard my dogs barking, but it was nothing. But yeah, what I was going to say is we are a quarter of the way through Snow White Raising Project, and we don't really know what it is that, we don't know what it is that Snow White's after here. We also don't really know what Miss Frederica, we also don't know why she's looking for a certain magical girl. There are a lot of questions here, and why she's so creepy about this hair stuff, but either way. Okay, continuing onward. What should I do to make magical girls strong? There were many predecessors who tried, I believe. I have many records of magical girls who have attempted to do those things before me. That included records on Clanberry's tests, despite their corruption. Add to that, I also had my own experiences. A magical girl's personal magical skill, physical abilities, and battle techniques. All of them were different for each magical girl. Some magical girls would say our world views are different. If you're the kind of magical girl who fights universe-scale threats, then you wouldn't have time to help your neighborhood with small problems. I don't think I can do anything about that. If I were to do something about that, that would be a whole problem in itself. In order for humans to become strong, some form of time must be spent earning that strength. But we are magical girls. We don't need a set schedule or to follow the scientific method of normal training sessions. Instead of equipping ourselves with armor, we dress ourselves up with frills and ribbons. Simply put, magical girls work outside of the realm of logic. Our aspirations, our dreams, our love for magical girls, it allowed us to push through and do what we want without worrying about it until the end. Instead of using a training facility being guided by a coach in order to break our bodies, we'd use our homemade time and our own training equipment without worrying about those kinds of things. Of course we do these foolish things for magical girls, and everyone knows that magical girls are the heroes. We only realize that what we did was look stupid after we've done it. After all, we continue to strive toward our dream, new horizons. After all, if we continue to strive toward our dream, new horizons will open. Of course, I don't do such things. It's rather annoying and painful. But if others do it, then perhaps I can supervise it? Snow White wants to become stronger, then I won't complain. If Snow White wants to become stronger, then I won't complain. I dialed a number on my magical phone. Hello, Snow White? It's Frederica. Hello? Still haven't changed your mind? I haven't. I tried to make small talk, however. Can I hang up now? I see. She clearly doesn't want to be bothered with that. So you still won't change your mind on becoming stronger? I won't. Have you considered my thoughts, that magical girls don't need to only be strong? I did. Are you willing to become strong, even if it destroys you in the process? I would. And what if it destroys something other than yourself? What does that mean? Your friends and family, of course. Are you willing to become strong, even if it means sacrificing them? There was no reply. Snow White didn't talk, but she didn't hang up the phone. I didn't wait for an answer. Think about that, please. I hung up the phone. Snow White's reason for gaining strength, I had thought were due to participating in Clanberry's tests. In Clanberry's tests, magical girls killed each other, and they were killed as well. Then surely Snow White's friends were also killed. Magical girls known as Lapicelle and Hardcore Alice, both of them wanted to protect Snow White, and both of them were killed. Snow White hated her helplessness. That's why she wanted to become strong. Instead of being drunk with the power of a magical girl, she realized how helpless she really was. In order for someone to want to seek strength, they must first realize that they are weak. Okay? For me, other than regular magical girl activities, I also had experience as a scout and a test administrator. In my experience from those scoutings that I had done, I can count the number of people I've scouted that I would consider a good person with my fingers. Even so, it was one of the few well-paying jobs from the land of magic, so I had pride on it. When searching for candidates, I didn't follow the recommended procedures that the land of magic had set. I used my own conditions. One of my first conditions is to look in kindergartens or nurseries. First, I'd find the hair of the teachers, then I'd use that to watch the children. I would look for outcasts, people who were dismissed from groups or shunned by their peers. You could tell who they were. They were the ones who would laugh on the outside, but were lonely on the inside. I didn't only focus on school life either. Sometimes kids would have a bright and happy school life, and yet they're hiding their crushing, depressing family life. Those who wake up in fear when they hear their stepfather's footsteps at night, those kids didn't want to go home. Some may even try to run away from home, sitting in the forest with household appliances. Gloom, depression, those children held a strength that no other child has. They wanted to be free of their life, but they lacked the means to do so. For that reason, they would be able to endure any suffering or pain if it meant freedom. That's right. Prayers, hope, their desires shone strongly, and thus they make for perfect magical girls. Even those people who were stuck on the sidelines could become the best if they tried. Of course, there were some problems there too, mostly due to the person's personality. Some of them, once transformed into magical girls, had all their ambitions stopped, as they felt their problems had been solved there. Their desires didn't push them forward. I tried to scout for adults as well. I had thought that surely an adult's desire would be stronger than a child's. I targeted elite workers who were forced into technical training with marginal rewards, the homeless who lived in cardboard boxes, or factory workers who were depressed with their lives. Even women who, due to their age, didn't feel like they were loved by anyone and drowned themselves in alcohol every night. Although it's in line with my categories, the results weren't satisfactory. I wonder if she's the one that scouted out all the sort of bad people in Magical Girls, like Calamity Mary sounds like that last one. Or what if she scouted out Clamberry? It'd be a bit interesting. I also feel like Frederica, I can't tell if she's going to turn out to be evil yet or not. Because she seems like a good person, but there's these creepy vibes kind of throwing doubt in there here and there. Although it's in line with my categories, the results weren't satisfactory. Most of them were uncomfortable with the idea that they've become little girls. At that point, I limited myself to women who were in their 20s. They seemed to have high magical potential, but it's hard to judge, as there weren't many who fit the criteria that I wanted. On the other hand, while children were the easiest to find, many of them stopped their desires halfway. As for Snow White, she was a participant of Clamberry's tests. That clearly had an influence on her. Like Clamberry, she wanted to become stronger in order to push her own limits of her magical girl strength. She'll never be satisfied with her own strength. She's like a shonen manga protagonist. No matter who her opponents are, how strong they are, or how invincible they seem, she'll just keep strengthening herself until she can surpass them. Her strong willpower to push herself isn't for some vague goal. She wanted to become stronger, but couldn't find a path to do so. If she found that path, maybe like Clamberry, she will continue to pursue it until her death. The people who you would call children of Clamberry had that in common. Even those who detest Clamberry found her way of life to be fascinating. But what about the other one, who wanted to step down? On one of Snow White's usual days of helping people, about 1 hour before she began, I visited Ripple. In order to gain her information and contact, I had to gain the permission of my magical girl superiors, though it doesn't mean that I would also be training her. Apparently that girl had been forced to become a magical girl. Amazed at my enthusiasm, my superiors told me, do as you like. Ripple was also engaged in helping people, but she wasn't as rapidly outgoing as Snow White was. She had a determined patrol route that she followed systematically. She'd stop for a moment to top a building, look around, then continue on her patrol. It was a very orthodox style of helping people. Unlike Snow White, who had the power to hear people in distress, this was the easiest thing for Ripple to do. Before I did meet her, I had infiltrated the apartment of Kano Sazanami and found strands of her hair. Then I went toward her apartment rooftop when she was standing there quietly. Before I even called out to her, I noticed her hand moving toward the hilt of her katana. As expected, she really was the youngest child of Clamberry. There was no waste in her movements. Her movements were quick, and she could enter her battle mode before you'd blink. She had a low posture, sticking close to the floor of the rooftops. Her ninja-style costume reinforces her agility and speed, along with her magical skill of always hitting targets with your shuriken. Then, it's no wonder she passed her test. Because of the way she moved, her black hair flowed accordingly. It was a hair with a black color that reflected the moonlight. Rarely would you find black-haired girls with hair that shone at night. Such beautiful hair. I wanted to comb and stroke it. Just imagining the feel of that hair between my fingers made my heart shake. But now wasn't the time. Getting real creepy again. I smiled, my palms facing each other. I showed her that I meant no hostility or harm. Slowly, she moved her hand away from her katana and stood up. I walked up to her and handed her my business card. I'm sure you know by now, I'm Snow White's mentor. Her mentor? Her facial expression softened. Although there were clearly battle scars, she looked like a beautiful magical girl once more. Her skin became soft and her expressions calmed down. When she showed hostility, she was full of intimidation. Now she only had the face of an injured warrior. I continued talking. She's been consulting with me lately. About what? How to become stronger. Ripple's expression seemed to get cloudier. She furrowed her eyebrows, her scar seemingly moving along with them. Do you know the reasons why she would do that? Ripple didn't answer. Instead, she simply looked ahead to the horizon. I saw that she wore gatas, wooden sandals, on her feet. Despite such uncomfortable footwear, as it's part of her magical girl costume, it wouldn't present a problem for movement. I continued talking. You know as well, don't you? You and Snow White, you were participants of Clamberry's final exam. People will be keeping a very close eye on both of you. So even if she had a good purpose, her desire for strength will only attract unwanted attention. Ripple neither opened her mouth nor looked at my eyes. I won't report to the land of magic. Ripple was surprised at that statement. She raised her eyebrows. I nodded. I plan to conceal any of those records in my reports. I smiled slightly in order to lighten the mood. It was almost a custom. However, she is my charge, so if the Land of Magic found word of her seeking strength, then if I can't give a thorough explanation, just imagine who they would send as her next mentor. The next one may be completely hostile to anyone who wants to be like Clanberry, even if it's Snow White, for example. With one eye, Ripple looked back at me as if she was going to murder me. It was truly a serious look. Nevertheless, I breathed out and talked. It's been a while since I've been to this rooftop. Makes me feel nostalgic. When I was a child, I remember playing on these kinds of rooftops. The wire meshes hanging around, the stalls, all were playground equipment in the eyes of a child. Perhaps because of the recession, things have changed. Popcorn stalls in the streets, cobblestone, part of the wired fence was also new. There used to be a part that was always cut. Seems they fixed it. I looked back at Ripple, and she seemed even more confused. Maybe this can lead to a better negotiation. Would you mind asking Snow White's true intentions? I tried asking. But she didn't give me a satisfying I tried asking, but she didn't give me a satisfying answer. Perhaps, since you're close with her, you would be able to get an answer. I placed a lot of effort into my eyes. If what she wants is just, then I will help her. Snow White will gain my assistance. Ripple's eyes were staring at me without blurring away. It seems she was considering it. She's lived a life of constant battle, hardly the type to negotiate and ask questions. Not just from her appearance, but Ripple also had that kind of strength. After all, she is a child of Clanberry. I shared my address and phone number with Ripple. Then I shook hands with her. As I jumped away from the rooftops, I felt a nervous stare of Ripple behind my back. She still hasn't let go of her battle instincts. Despite being free from the battle physically, her mind was still sharp on that front, as I thought. Page break. Let me grab some water. Like I've said a bunch before, I'm liking this. It's got this mystery vibe of whether Pithy's, that's her name, right? Pithy Frederica? Because I'm pretty sure I saw it written somewhere before I even read this. But yeah, Frederica. It might have been in the comments that somebody said that she was supposed to show up at the end of the anime or something, and I was like, I don't know who you're talking about. But yeah. So yeah, I cannot tell if she's going to be a good guy or bad guy. I think she still seems like a good guy, but there are just these creepy vibes here and there, and maybe it's going to turn out she's like an old person or something, and like an old lady, and that kind of explains it a little bit, because she's like, oh, this soft young people hair, or I remember when this place was like this. Then it would make sense. I think that would make it make sense. Alright, so next scene. The next day I was contacted by Snow White. What did you tell Ripple? Straight to the point, just as usual then. Since I'm your mentor, I thought it would be a good idea to get to know your circle of friends, don't you think? Don't do that. Her voice got louder, almost like a shout. Though she was careful not to scream too loudly. On the contrary, it's necessary. If you don't keep close eye on the people that surround you, you might be in danger as well. In addition, I took a deep breath and continued. I wanted to know your reason for becoming stronger, and yet you still refused to tell me. I don't need to tell you. Snow White's tone lowered. Although it was only a slight change, I realized that this was a bad time to ask. Time to fold that line of questioning. If you tell me, then I can help you. If you don't, then I can't. What are you doing this for? I realize you don't want anyone else to know, so I won't leak it to the Land of Magic or anyone else. I swear on our name as Magical Girls. I didn't think it was worth to swear in the name of Magical Girls, for I don't know how Snow White would feel about that. Do you remember what I said earlier, about what you'd be willing to sacrifice for your strength? Perhaps sacrifice is too strong of a word. Let's try again. What would you be willing to use in your journey to strength? Yes, that's better. What would you be willing to do to reach that strength? If you only use yourself, then you'll be stuck. She was silent, but I could hear her, the sign that she recognized my question. If you don't have a sparring partner, then ask Ripple. Also, if I were you, then I would take advantage of a mentor who would keep her mouth shut of all this. It would be a good tool to train yourself, I know that. I know that unlike Clamberry, I am not as good a fighter, but I am still a magical girl, and I know I can teach you better than someone like Clamberry, so for the sake of your growth, I'd say I qualify. I took some time to catch my breath there. Please use me, Snow White. But before that, please tell me, why are you doing this? Why do you want to become stronger? If I know your reasons, I can give you proper assistance. Her voice was calm. Not weak, but calm. Talking to someone who wanted to understand her plight might cause her to open up. This is good. What can I gain from using you? Why, I'm your mentor. Even in the human world, you should know, students need to utilize their mentors before they can head out into the real world. That's why, if you were to seek my advice, then I would be very pleased. Don't you worry about what I think. I took this job at my own risk. I'm prepared for the consequences. There was no reply, but I didn't wait for one. Let me know when you've decided. I hung up the phone. The next day, something unusual had happened. Snow White got into a fight with Ripple. Because of how my magical skill worked, I couldn't hear any sound at all, so I couldn't understand what they were saying. However, I could see that they were arguing intensely. As for the reason they're arguing, I've talked to both sides. I can imagine what it would be about. Snow White wanted to become stronger, so she'd be placing herself on the battlefield, yet she can't convince Ripple because for her battle was over. Ripple had always thought what's best for Snow White. Snow White was also always thinking of Ripple before. Before now, they've never argued. But now, Snow White was furious. It was different than what I saw a week ago. The only person she could rely on was Ripple, but she couldn't even do that anymore. The two of them argued to no end, and parted without concluding. Snow White turned her back on Ripple, and they didn't wave hands as usual. At that time, I decided to contact her. Hello, Ripple, it's Frederica. Ah, hello. So, how was Snow White? Did she tell you her reasons? Ripple didn't answer. Come to think of it, the timing for this call was too perfect. To Ripple, it was as if I'd been watching her from somewhere. In fact, she seemed to be turning her head around. It was suspicious for her. For Ripple, I was a problematic person, not someone to rely on, though I'm certain that Snow White revealed her reasons to Ripple. You see, I'm worried for her. Worried? Yes, of course, at the rate Snow White is going, she's becoming similar to a lot of dangerous people. Her desire to seek strength without someone to teach her limits will take her to places where life may be in danger. When I held my magical phone with my right hand, my left hand was manipulating my crystal ball. There, I saw Ripple, looking like she'd just swallowed some bitter medicine. I obviously can't say anything to her, but you, Ripple, you could guide her. Don't try to stop her entirely, but lead her so that she won't do anything reckless. Do you think you can do that? I already knew the answer. Snow White wouldn't stop, even if Ripple asked her to. So instead, I led her to this path. Ripple's face hardened. Satisfied with my results, I turned off my phone and crystal ball. I left to her own devices. If left to her own devices, Snow White will take her own actions. She'll start doing dangerous things, and that worries me. If something happens to her, she may just die in the process. Thus, it's better to not let her get too reckless. For that, Ripple needed to guide Snow White, and that way it will boost her survivability. As I've planted the seeds in Ripple's head, she should have understood exactly what to do. Then, I contacted Snow White. Hello, Snow, it's Frederica. Yes? Her voice was trembling, as she had been crying. I didn't need to use a crystal ball for this. I began to have small talk with her. How was school? Did you pass your exams? After all, I did say that I would talk about anything at all. To all those topics I gave her some advice. Then Snow White began to speak. It was a voice filled with nervousness, so I asked back, What's wrong? As soon as I urged with a gentle voice, it was as if a child on the other end wanted to break free. I didn't need to open the door anymore, for she would open it herself. I've already done my part, now to reap the results. I had thought that if it weren't today, then maybe tomorrow, or the next day, she'll eventually open up. To think that it would be now of all times. Although I wasn't too surprised, I still acted like it. Finally, after 2 minutes of silence, Snow White began to speak while tripping on her words. If If there are any other magical girls like Clamberry, I want to stop them. I won't let anything like that happen again. I want to intervene in major disasters in the human world as well. In order to do that, I need to become stronger. Snow White's reasons are reasons that I believe I can agree with. Even though she was still under watch, the Land of Magic's monitoring system wasn't very strict. Though this might be a bad thing to say of them, but the way they monitor people is more like polite taps on their shoulders. Over hundreds of years, and that system hasn't changed. Why else would there still be rogue magical girls like the children of Clamberry running around freely otherwise? Ah, so they are rogue magical girls. As her mentor, I can cooperate with her as much as I can. When it comes to acts of evil, Snow White is different from Ripple. Ripple hates the individual, while Snow White hates the act itself. With people like Ripple, who hate the individuals committing evil, their fire will burn out fast, though I see Ripple still has embers burning somewhere deep inside. With people like Snow White who hate the act, their flame will continue burning forever. I took a deep breath, taking a moment to make it seem like I was shocked at Snow White's words. I had to act like I found this very heavy to bear. If I took it lightly, it would be too suspicious for her. Of course, I had already decided a conclusion. I'm going to make Snow White stronger. With her personality, her spirit, she just might be my ideal magical girl. It's possible that she might just be able to reform the Land of Magic. I felt a talent that I hadn't seen for a long time. As a mentor, I felt that way. Even though the authorities will probably act, now is a good time to act. Somewhere out there, the Land of Magic has already caught 2 more rogue magical girls, condemning them at the same time. They had given them villainous nicknames that spread fear and distrust for those 2. If the Land of Magic would do the same to her, then so be it. After all, a nickname is a symbol, something that they will attach to someone for a long time. The White Devil, the White Reaper, the White Devil, the White Reaper. No, that won't do. Those were far too sinister. Either way, I should think of an appropriate nickname for her to be called. That's my homework for today. I turned off my magical phone and placed it on the table. Then I placed my hands on the sliding doors of the kitchen. From the next room, I heard the sound of a fan that continued to whir and whir. As I slid into the door, my foot sank more than usual. About a year ago, there used to be a tatami mat in this floor, and sometimes I still think there is, but that's long gone now. When I entered this room, happiness struck my body. There were steel walls to my left and right, and across from me was a large bookshelf. This room has undergone some renovations after an earthquake nearly destroyed it. Now I'm confident that it can stand any disaster. There were files in the bookshelves arranged alphabetically. I searched for a specific one and opened it. On the file there was a single strand of hair, a thin strand of wavy dark brown hair. This used to be the prize of my collection. Just by looking at this strand of hair, several memories filled my head. Many moments that I recalled started playing back again. However, if I can keep this strand, then I can move forward. Although she used to be the one, now my interest lies with Snow White. I took out the strand of hair, placed the file back in its cabinet, and headed towards the trash can, placed my feet on the pedal, and deposited there. As I did that, I felt a tinge of sadness. Ah, how embarrassing. Okay, so that is page 30 and where we're ending for this week, and it's been like 50 minutes of reading, and very odd. Like, it very much seems like Frederica is kind of sketchy. It seems like she's manipulating Snow White for her own gains. And, yeah, don't know if those are good or bad. But, that's it. So, either way, I did enjoy the first half of this. I'll read the second half next week, get that character video up next week, and then we'll move on to Arc 2 with some new characters. So yeah, that is it. Thank you once again for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment on there. Tell me what you thought of this this half of Snow White Racing Project. What you thought of my thoughts on it, my first reaction and everything. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Racing Project and a bunch more. Follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. That is it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.